You look like you don't believe. You try to live your life apart from Jesus Christ. We can't do it. Stress has a way of wearing you out. Worry has a way of knocking you out. Bills have a way of putting you under. We can't do it without Jesus. But when we live this life with Christ, then we live a life expecting Christ to come. And no matter what happens in our lives, the fact that I know that Jesus is coming, it calms a lot of my fears. Let me ask you a question. What's going to happen if you can't pay your bill? You just can't pay them. Ain't nobody ever went to jail for not paying the bill. You just can't pay them. But God has a way of giving us peace. I told my deacons on yesterday that the earlier men of God fell out after Jesus was crucified. They lost their hope, they lost their courage, they lost their conviction. They were huddled up in a room by themselves like scared chickens waiting to be slaughtered. Jesus stepped through the door and said, peace, be still. And that's what I'm talking about. When you live with Jesus, you live with peace. So, something happened. Finally, the bridegroom decides to show up. Verse 5. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they went to sleep. They went to sleep. Some went to sleep unprepared. Some went to sleep prepared. It's an interesting thing about the military. The military, they tell you in the Marines, Air Force, whatever branch of government is, you always have to be prepared. You always have to be prepared for action. You wake up knowing what you got to do in case something should happen. But these girls went to sleep knowing that they were not prepared. And it's amazing to me, believe it or not, because many of us leave church Sunday after Sunday and we're not prepared. That's right. If Jesus showed up, he would scare us to death because we're not prepared. But I'm telling you right now, he's coming. Yes, he is. And so these girls go to sleep and they wake up because the alarm sounds that the bridegroom is coming. And a couple of them girls are frantic because they ain't got enough oil to go out into the night to be with the bridegroom. And then they start begging, give us what you got. Well, hold on. You had a chance to get what we got. That's right now. All right. Whether you know it or not, Jesus is talking to us about preparation and being prepared. Yes. Why? Because he does not want any of us to be alarmed when he shows up. But 5 of these girls were not ready. And their sisters told them, listen, y'all wait out there, get warm. We'll wait for y'all. Now they trim their lamps and cut back on their lamps and cut back on the light of their lamps so they can preserve what they had. But they had something to preserve them until the bridegroom showed up. Sure enough, the bridegroom showed up. They went into the wedding feast. They went back to be with the Lord. And those that came behind them, tell your neighbor, it's too late. That's the great danger that many of us will face one day to go before the Lord. It's too late. But Jesus says it another way. He says, I never knew you. Isn't that a terrible thing to have happen? We've taken our children to school all their lives, taken them to church all their lives. They should know the Lord. Our parents have drugged us to church all our lives. And at the end, we have to hear Jesus tell us, I don't know you. Depart from me, ye worker of iniquity. I don't know you. God doesn't want that to happen to us. Doesn't want it to happen to you. Doesn't want it to happen to any of your children. That's the reason that the Lord tells us that whatever we do, we need to do it right now. We need to understand that the clock of destiny is ticking out. And we need to act now before it's too late. We need to act now before it's too late. The old folks used to say, whatever you do, you ought to do it right now. If you got a song to sing, you ought to sing it. If you got a prayer to pray, you ought to pray it. But whatever you do, we ought to do it right now. But strangely enough, let me say this, and I'm going to close. We can't get caught up too much in the realm of this world. Because God is trying to remind us that we are pilgrims sojourning through a foreign land down here. This is not our home. Can I say that again? This is not our home. We're in this world, but we're not of this world. Our home is a spiritual home. Our home is a home where our God lives forever. And Jesus told us, he said, where he is, there we're going to be also. And we have to get ready to get out of here, y'all. So, if we've got to get ready to get out of here, number one, we just have to make sure that our bags are packed, our tickets are paid. And we can't get caught up. So let me just tell you, don't get too ruffled, don't get too confused, don't get too upset when things don't go your way down here. Don't get too upset, don't get too ruffled when this world doesn't become what you want it to be. It's not our home. But the danger is that we keep trying to make it our home. Let me close by telling you a story about a little boy I met. I've told this story before because it's a story about those of us down here who forget about Jesus. And we made him the Lord of our life, but we no longer want him to be the Lord of our lives. The kingdom of God has a king. And because it has a king, it also has servants. We're the servants of God. We're the children of God. But somehow along the way, we don't want that to be. We don't want that to happen. And we forget that God really is our Father. We forget somehow that he did die for our sins. We forget somehow that he made a sacrifice for us so that we can live. And it's amazing to me how, even as older folks, we forget. There's a story about a young man who went off to school. Willie Earl. Y'all remember telling me about Willie Earl? And Willie Earl went off to Bishop College. And when Willie Earl went off to Bishop College, Willie Earl's grandmother used to take care of him. And Willie Earl's grandmother took care of him, and to the best of her ability, because the parents wasn't no good. The boy's father had him out of wedlock, never buried the mother. And the mother, she was running after that fool, so she never had time to take care of him. And so Willie Earl had to grow up with his grandmother. And Willie Earl's grandmother took him to church all the time. Every week, Sunday school, Baptist training unit. Willie Earl had to go to church. Anybody in here know what I'm talking about? And so Big Mama didn't make she didn't ask for forgiveness because she took him to church. She knew she had to take him to church. And so Willie Earl went to church all the time. And Willie Earl was also a star athlete, being recruited by some of the top programs throughout the state. So Willie Earl decided to go off to one school, and when Willie Earl went off to school, he went off to a certain university, one of those prestigious northern schools. Willie Earl went off to school, some things started to change. Because Willie Earl's grandmama told him, she said, no matter what happens, stay with the Lord. No matter what kind of grades you make, stay with the Lord. No matter your successes or your failures, stay with the Lord. And so Willie Earl went off to school, and he took his Bible, and for the first 2 or 3 months of school, Willie Earl would call his grandmother every weekend, read his Bible with his grandmother. But after about 2 or 3 weeks from school, Willie Earl stopped calling his grandmother, stopped talking to his grandmother. And so this went on and on. And she noticed that when Willie Earl came home from school, Willie Earl wouldn't go to church. Willie Earl wouldn't any longer get up with her and pray with her anywhere. Some things were changing in Willie Earl. After about 4 years of college, Willie Earl was a completely different person. They got ready to graduate, and Willie Earl told his grandma, he said, listen, Mama, he said, I've been up here to the university for 4 years, and I've studied psychology and philosophy, and I have concluded that there is no such thing as God. So when you come down here, don't come down here shouting and praising the Lord. Don't come down here embarrassing me like that. My mama said, okay, baby. Sure enough, graduation night came, Pastor Jones. Big Mama sat up there in the back because she was too embarrassed. She didn't have good clothes like some of the other folks, so she sat back there in the back and she listened as they called off the names and went through the alphabets, and she sat there and just started rocking. Started thinking about the fact of how good God had been to her and how good God had been to Willie Earl. When Willie Earl didn't have a place to sleep, Willie Earl came and stayed with Big Mama, and all Big Mama could do was say, what a mighty God we serve. And then she thought about the fact when the food stamps ran out and how neighbors brought back food and stuff so that she and Willie Earl could eat, and she just rocked and said, what a mighty God we serve. And she got to the point she just couldn't take it any longer. She said, I ain't gonna say nothing. But by the time she said that, Willie Earl started walking across the stage. And